Well, an absolutely critical visit of the Prime Minister to the United States. It's a relationship which has been transformed over the last decade or so. Where exactly is India going with this relationship? What is it in it? What's in it for India? Joining us now to talk a little bit about that, Rajeev Chandrasekhar, the IT and Skill Development Minister. Thanks very much for being with us. Mr. Chandrasekhar, semiconductor technology, and we've spoken about this in the recent past, is something that India and the United States are looking at very, very closely. What exactly are America and India talking about?
So Vishnu, you are aware that India and the US have signed a comprehensive ISET agreement, which is a cooperation agreement for critical and emerging technologies. I think it is a recognition on the part of both countries that the future of technologies is going to be an increasingly rapid one, a disruptive one, and there are going to be many new areas of opportunities that technology is going to throw up: quantum, AI, semiconductor, and so on and so forth. And that the future of this technology should be shaped by partnerships, partnerships like the Indo-US partnership. So I think the whole gamut of opportunities that critical and emerging technologies represent, which, like I said, ranges from semiconductors to quantum computing, is something that is certainly within the scope of this partnership. And I think this historic visit, in a sense, re-rates the India-US partnership from where it was a few years ago to another level, where I think there is a tremendous amount of things that the partnership can deliver in the next decade, which you know is a decade that Prime Minister calls a techade, which is the decade of technology opportunities.
No, but in specific terms, whether it's semiconductors or AI, because these are areas where India is working independently. If we do have a collaboration with the United States, has it been defined in terms of what it is that we are seeking to get or what we might get, or is it just essentially discussions at this stage?
No, Vishnu, I certainly cannot comment on what will be the outcomes of the Honorable Prime Minister's visits and his discussions there, excepting to say that I think with the MOU that was signed between India and the US, and then subsequently by the India and the EU, the ball has already started rolling on the number of areas where the Indian ecosystem can partner with the American ecosystem in a range of areas. And in the specific area of semiconductors, I think in semiconductor research, I think in semiconductor innovation and design, there are many startups now in India and the US that are already partnering and joint venturing, and in the other areas of packaging and manufacturing.
Sure.
So we will. I mean, today is of course just the visit, but the fallout of the visit will be fairly medium to long term, and you will hear about all of the consequential fallouts of the visit over the months and years that follow the visit.
The other area where there's technology sharing, fairly unprecedented, is jet engine technology. That's something we need. We've not had necessarily the results that we seek. So we seek a collaboration and understanding. Is it in your do you believe that this would be as profound as India needs or seeks, for example, with single crystal technology for jet engines? Or is there a sense that this would be a General Electric plant which is set up in India without the kind of profound technology sharing that we really need?
Vishnu, I am not privy to this, and I certainly have a habit of not commenting on things that are beyond my pay scale. So I certainly will not be able to shed any light on this, excepting to say I am deeply confident that this partnership framework that is being built is a partnership that is really about transfer and sharing and development on the basis of that sharing of future versions of technology. So I would, if I had to hazard a guess, I would say that this would be just a lot more than just setting up a plant.
The other area where India and the United States, of course, the broader equation is one of a strategic relationship. It's been based on certain foundational agreements. There have been disagreements in the past, but we've worked through those disagreements. We've got those out of the way. You've mentioned ISET. But how do our interests converge around one word, China, and the threat that it represents?
No, look, I actually don't think, and I speak for, I don't know if there's a overall view on this, but I certainly don't think what we are attempting to do with the US or what the US is attempting to do with India is anyway China focused. I think there is certainly a large number of opportunities that are emerging as opportunities that are very, very critical and important and defining for the future of the tech ecosystem in general, that needs these partnerships between India and the US and India and other countries to really step up and deliver, to make sure these partnerships deliver on the technology and the innovation that the people of the world can enjoy and benefit from. So I'm not sure whether there is a China angle at all in this. I don't think so. I think we are not, and I think the Honorable Prime Minister has referred to this, that our rise, our growth is not to the detriment of anybody. It is not aimed at creating any disadvantage for anybody. Our own approach towards technology is that it must be accessible and available to all countries and all peoples of the world who can benefit from it. So there is nothing about us and any of these partnerships that seem like it is excluding anybody. It is really an inclusive way to formulate the future of technology that India is approaching. And that is evident from, for example, our approach of the India Stack and using the India Stack and offering the India Stack to all those countries around the world that today want to digitize their economies and digitize their governance.
You know, I don't know if this is necessarily going to come up, but it is something that affects Indians in the IT space in the United States. As you are aware, there's been fairly substantial job losses over there in the IT sector, and given their visas, a lot of Indians need to come back as soon as possible. These are Indian nationals over there with children in school, etc., etc. There has been an extension of their visa status for some time. That's what America is trying to ensure. But is this a conversation that you believe will be had, that, you know, the status of these Indians who are in a way suffering in the United States because of where their tech sector stands presently?
Look, Vishnu, I will not comment on specific items on the agenda and what is going to be discussed and what is not. I certainly think it is in the interests of this partnership, India and the US partnership, that there is a freer flow of technology talent between the two countries, and there is a less restrictive regime in place to allow these partnerships to grow and bloom. That is a opinion that is often expressed by the American companies themselves, and I think it is up to the US administration to respond to that. It is clear, Vishnu, and I speak as somebody with some years of technology experience, that the future of tech will not be developed in silos. It will be developed in these really strong partnerships that will allow talent to work and interwork together, that will shape the future of these innovations in quantum, AI, semiconductor, and everything else that comes after that.
One final question. You know, it is fantastic, isn't it, that the Prime Minister and this government have been able to make yoga into an international mission. It's not just about you know, promoting good health, which is, you know, at the basis of what it's all about, but it's also about sharing India's vision and a certain practice, a certain sport form, something that helps us in so many levels to a larger international audience. And this has been accepted not just in America, but around the world. This is now an international mission, more than it's been for perhaps anything like this which India has attempted.
Oh, absolutely, Vishnu. And, you know, I come from a generation where when we went out and migrated to the US, it was certainly not in India that anybody had a great deal of respect for. While there were pockets of respect for individual brilliance, but then India was seen as the backwaters of the world. You know, we were looked at very differently. Today, we are a country that has brought yoga to the global table. We are talking about technology partnerships. We are talking about open standards and open source platforms to share with the world. We are talking about technology being shaped to benefit the rest of the world and people all across the world. We are talking about Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. So I think these values that India represents and that had been, in a sense, not seen on the global stage, are values that ring very, very strongly today at a time when countries are still engaged in conflict in Europe. We are still reeling, many countries are still reeling from the post-COVID impacts. That India is coming and talking about all of these issues and the future of the world in terms of peace, prosperity and development, cooperation in the areas of technology, medicine, vaccination, I think is certainly something that the world wants to hear more of, see more of, and is positioning India as truly one of the most trusted partners and large nations for the world and the community of the nations of the world.
All right, Mr. Chandrasekhar, thanks very much for speaking to us, sharing your thoughts on the importance of this visit. Thanks very much indeed. We'll take a short break at this stage, come back with the very latest.